In the quiet dawn of Portland, Oregon, a young man ties his running shoes, the soles worn and frayed. He dreams of glory on the track, of the cheers of the crowd, of the finish line. But for Phil Knight, those dreams were not to be realized on the track. Little did he know that his failures as an athlete would set the stage for something far greater, a legacy that would reshape the world of sports forever. Welcome back to Brand Vanguard. You go to channel for deep dives into the stories behind the world's most iconic brands. Get ready to explore the fascinating story of how a young runner, who faced failure on the track, went on to create Nike, a brand that would forever change the world of sports. So sit back, grab your favorite sneakers, and let's dive into the story of Phil Knight and the birth of Nike. This is the story of how a failed athlete, with nothing but a dream and an unshakable belief in his vision, built Nike, one of the most iconic brands in the world. It's a story of resilience, of relentless pursuit, and of turning obstacles into opportunities. But before the billions in revenue, before the global dominance, there was just Phil Knight, a young man with a dream, a passion for running, and a burning question: what if? This is how it all began. Early life and athletic dreams. Phil Knight was born in 1938 in Portland, Oregon. Raised in a middle-class family, Phil was a quiet, introspective child, but one who possessed a competitive spirit from a young age. His father, William Knight, was a lawyer and a newspaper publisher, instilling in Phil a strong work ethic and a belief in the value of hard work. Phil's love for running developed early. He was drawn to the sport not just for the physical challenge, but for the sense of freedom it provided. At the University of Oregon, under the legendary coach Bill Bowerman, Phil honed his skills as a middle-distance runner. But despite his passion, he soon realized he wasn't destined to be a world-class athlete. Though he trained hard and pushed his limits, Phil wasn't the fastest or the strongest. As much as he loved the sport, he couldn't deny the truth: he wasn't going to make it as a professional athlete. This realization was a turning point. For many, this would have been the end of a dream, but for Phil Knight, it was the beginning of something much bigger. Phil began to ponder another question: if I can't be the best runner, how can I stay connected to the sport I love? This question would lead him down a path that would change his life and the world forever. After graduating, Phil wasn't sure what to do next. He knew he wanted to stay involved in sports, but the path wasn't clear. It was during this period of uncertainty that he had an idea, a bold, audacious idea that would take him halfway around the world to Japan, where he would discover something that would change everything. Phil had read about the growing success of Japanese manufacturing, particularly in the production of high-quality, low-cost goods. He became intrigued by the potential of Japanese shoes, which were far cheaper than the German brands dominating the market at the time. Phil's intuition told him that there was an opportunity here, and he was determined to explore it. Armed with little more than his enthusiasm and a vague plan, Phil traveled to Japan in 1962. He met with the executives of Onitsuka, the makers of Tiger shoes, and pitched them an idea: he would distribute their shoes in the United States. Despite his lack of business experience, the Onitsuka executives were impressed by his passion and agreed to a partnership. With this deal, Phil Knight took his first step toward building what would become Nike. Returning to the US with his first shipment of Tiger shoes, Phil Knight founded Blue Ribbon Sports in 1964. Operating out of his parents' basement, he started selling shoes out of the trunk of his car at track meets. It was a humble beginning, but Phil was driven by a vision for greater than just selling shoes. He wanted to create something that would revolutionize the world of sports. Phil wasn't alone in this venture. He was joined by his former coach, Bill Bowerman, who shared his passion for innovation. Bowerman wasn't just a coach, he was a visionary, constantly experimenting with new ideas to improve his athletes' performance. Together, they would lay the foundation for what would become Nike. One of Bowerman's most famous innovations was born out of a simple household appliance, a waffle iron. Inspired by the grid pattern, Bowerman envisioned a shoe sole that would provide better traction while being lighter and more durable. This simple idea would lead to the creation of the iconic Nike waffle trainer, a shoe that would revolutionize the running world. With Bowerman's innovative designs and Phil Knight's relentless drive, Blue Ribbon Sports began to grow, but as the company expanded, so did the challenges. The partnership with Onitsuka was starting to show cracks, and Phil knew that if he wanted to take his vision to the next level, he needed to create his own brand. In 1971, Phil Knight made the bold decision to part ways with Onitsuka and create his own brand. He named it Nike after the Greek goddess of victory, symbolizing the spirit of triumph he wanted his brand to embody. The iconic swoosh logo, designed by a college student for just 35, became the symbol of this new venture. It was a humble beginning, but it marked the birth of what would become one of the most successful brands in history, the birth of Nike and early struggles. The early days of Nike were anything but easy. With limited resources and fierce competition from established brands, Phil Knight and his small team faced an uphill battle. They worked long hours, often late into the night, driven by a belief in the potential of their products. Despite the challenges, Phil never wavered in his belief. He traveled across the country, pitching his shoes to retailers, many of whom were skeptical of this new brand. Rejections were common, but Phil persisted. He knew that success would not come overnight, and he was prepared to fight for every inch of progress. Meanwhile, Bill Bowerman continued to push the boundaries of innovation. He was constantly experimenting with new materials and designs, always seeking ways to improve performance. This relentless pursuit of excellence became a hallmark of the Nike brand, setting it apart from its competitors. The turning point came with the success of the Nike Waffle Trainer. This innovative shoe quickly gained a following among runners, and word began to spread. Nike was no longer just a fledgling company, it was a brand on the rise. As Nike's popularity grew, so did its influence in the world of sports. Athletes began to take notice, and the brand started to gain a reputation for quality and innovation. But with success came new challenges, and Phil Knight knew that the journey was far from over. With the success of the Waffle Trainer, Nike began to expand rapidly. New stores were opened, production increased, and the brand started to gain traction in markets across the country. But as Nike grew, so did the pressures and responsibilities. Phil Knight was no longer just an entrepreneur, he was now the leader of a rapidly expanding company, facing new challenges at every turn. Managing this growth was no easy task. Financial challenges loomed large, as Nike struggled to keep up with the demand while maintaining quality. Phil Knight found himself constantly juggling the demands of leadership with the realities of running a business. But through it all, he remained focused on his vision for Nike, a brand that would change the world of sports forever, overcoming adversity. As Nike continued to grow, the company faced its first major crisis, a legal battle with Onitsuka over the rights to the shoe designs that had launched Nike's success. The dispute threatened to derail everything Phil Knight had worked for, but he wasn't about to give up without a fight. The courtroom became the new battleground for Nike, and Phil Knight was determined to win. The stakes were high. Losing the case could mean the end of Nike before it had even truly begun. But through a combination of determination, strategy, and a bit of luck, Nike prevailed. Nike's victory in court was more than just a legal win, it was a validation of Phil Knight's vision and a turning point for the company. With the legal battle behind them, Nike was free to focus on what it did best: innovation and growth. With the court case behind them, Nike introduced several new products, each one pushing the boundaries of design and performance. The Nike Cortez, designed for long-distance running, and the Nike Blazer, one of the first basketball shoes, were both hits, further cementing Nike's reputation as a brand for serious athletes. With each new product, Nike's influence grew. Athletes began to see Nike as more than just a brand, they saw it as a partner in their pursuit of excellence. From the track to the basketball court, Nike was becoming synonymous with victory, the Jordan era, and global expansion. The real turning point for Nike came in 1984 when they signed a young basketball player named Michael Jordan. At the time, Jordan was just a rising star, but Nike saw something special in him. Together, they would change the game literally. The launch of the Air Jordan line was a game changer. The shoes weren't just designed for performance, they were designed to make a statement. With bold colors, innovative designs, and the backing of one of basketball's most electrifying players, the Air Jordan quickly became a cultural phenomenon. As Michael Jordan's star rose, so did Nike's. The Air Jordan became more than just a shoe, it became a symbol of excellence, of pushing boundaries, and of redefining what was possible. Nike's decision to bet on Jordan paid off in ways no one could have imagined. With the success of the Air Jordan, Nike's global expansion accelerated. The brand was no longer just an American success story, it was becoming a global phenomenon. From Europe to Asia to South America, Nike stores were opening in cities around the world, and the brand's influence continued to grow, facing controversy. But with success came new challenges. In the 1990s, Nike faced a wave of criticism over labor practices in its factories abroad. The brand that had become synonymous with victory was now being accused of exploiting workers in developing countries. The criticism was a wake-up call for Nike. Phil Knight knew that the brand couldn't continue on its current path without addressing these issues head-on. In response, Nike took steps to improve working conditions, increase transparency, and hold its suppliers to higher standards. The changes weren't easy, and they didn't happen overnight. But Nike's commitment to doing better ultimately strengthened the brand. By addressing the controversy and making real changes, Nike was able to turn a crisis into an opportunity for growth and improvement. Continuing the legacy, Phil Knight stepped down as CEO in 2004, but his influence on the brand and on the world of sports remains undeniable. Under new leadership, Nike continued to push the boundaries of innovation, introducing new technologies and expanding into new markets. One of Nike's most significant innovations in recent years has been the development of Flyknit technology, a revolutionary method of producing shoes with a single piece of fabric, reducing waste and improving performance. This commitment to innovation and sustainability has become a central part of Nike's identity. Today, Nike is more than just a brand, it's a global symbol of excellence, of pushing boundaries, and of achieving the impossible. From basketball courts in America to soccer fields in Europe to running tracks in Asia, Nike's influence is felt everywhere. The lessons of Phil Knight. The story of Nike is, at its core, the story of Phil Knight, a man who refused to give up, who turned failure into opportunity, and who built a brand that changed the world. But beyond the success, the real legacy of Phil Knight is the lessons he leaves behind. From his early struggles as a runner to his relentless pursuit of innovation, Phil Knight's story is a testament to the power of perseverance. It's a reminder that success doesn't come easy, but with determination, vision, and a willingness to take risks, anything is possible. Today, Nike continues to inspire millions around the world, athletes, entrepreneurs, and dreamers alike. It's a brand that stands for excellence, for pushing boundaries, and for believing that there's no limit to what you can achieve. Thanks for watching Brand Vanguard, where we explore the stories that shape the brands we love. Until next time, remember, every brand has a story, and every story has the power to inspire. Keep chasing your dreams, and just do it. This is the story of how a failed athlete built Nike, a story of resilience, of vision, and of the power of believing in yourself, no matter the odds. So, whatever your dreams may be, take that first step, and remember, just do it.